I've photographed hundreds of weddings, but nothing prepared me for the secret I was about to uncover through my lens. The spring morning was perfect, deceptively serene. The sky a crisp blue, a gentle breeze stirring the flowers in the manicured gardens of the Reed estate. I remember thinking that every detail of this wedding screamed perfection. The Reed-Russell union wasn't just any wedding, it was a social spectacle. Politicians, business magnates, and old-money aristocracy would all be present. For me, Ross Bailey, it was supposed to be the pinnacle of my career. I'd been a wedding photographer for 8 years, yet I could sense something unusual from the moment I arrived. Victoria Reed, the bride, was breathtaking. Her poise was impeccable, her smile flawless, but there was a distance behind her eyes. A subtle emptiness that no amount of makeup or designer gown could disguise. "Every detail matters," she said, her voice calm, almost clinical, as if she were briefing me for a corporate presentation rather than her wedding. "My father wants everything documented, every guest, every moment, every reaction." It wasn't the words themselves, but the tone that unsettled me. Most brides speak of love, joy, and the magic of the day. Victoria spoke of duty, of expectations. And yet there was a flicker in her eyes, just a whisper of vulnerability, gone almost as soon as it appeared. I moved through the bridal suite camera in hand, capturing the flurry of stylists, bridesmaids, and bouquets of white roses. Victoria remained still, the picture of a perfect bride, yet her eyes betrayed a storm beneath the surface. When her father, Charles Reed, arrived, the tension crystallized. He was a commanding man, tall, silver-haired, radiating authority. His greeting to Victoria was tender in words, but iron in presence. Every gesture seemed calculated, like he was confirming his investment in this union rather than celebrating his daughter's happiness. I photographed the two of them together, trying to balance the perfect shots expected of me with an uneasy awareness that something was deeply wrong. Every smile she offered felt rehearsed. Every glance at her father was measured. And yet I noticed the subtle flinch when his hands touched her shoulders. That tiny moment told me more than 1,000 words could. Across the estate, Peter Russell, the groom, was entirely different. Tall, conventionally handsome, confident, a man used to having everything go according to plan. He joked with his groomsmen, adjusted his cufflinks, and spoke about golf plans for the weekend, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing on the other side of the estate. "Ross," said Logan, Peter's younger brother, a quiet, thoughtful man with warm eyes, "have you met Victoria yet?" "I have. She seems lovely." "He is, truly. Kind, intelligent, but I worry, that's all." The concern in his voice lingered as I moved between the rooms, photographing the traditional bridal and groom preparations. The disparity between rehearsed perfection and genuine emotion was stark. Family portraits brought the tension to a breaking point. Both families posed with meticulous precision, military-like in their posture. Everyone smiled, but the smiles were polished masks. Then it happened. A fleeting, spontaneous moment. Logan approached Victoria, who was standing slightly apart from the group. He whispered something, and suddenly her entire face transformed. Laughter, real laughter, unguarded and bright, escaped her lips. For just a second, she was herself. The mask had fallen, and I captured it. It was fleeting, gone the moment her father called her back into line. She rejoined the posed formation. The sparkle in her eyes dimmed, but I had seen it. I had captured the truth. Victoria's joy was not with Peter, it was with Logan. As the ceremony time approached, I realized the impossible weight of the situation. My duty was to document this lavish wedding, yet I now held evidence that the bride was desperately unhappy, that she was walking toward a life she did not choose.
Hundreds of guests would soon witness a union devoid of love, and I had the photograph that could change everything. In the quiet of the bridal suite, just minutes before the processional, I found her alone in front of the mirror. "Victoria," I said softly. She turned, panic flickering in her eyes. "Is it time?" "Not yet," I replied, holding up the camera screen. There it was, the photograph of her genuine laughter with Logan. Her breath caught. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because out of all the pictures I've taken today, this is the only one where you're truly happy." Tears formed in her eyes. "You don't understand. This wedding, it's about family obligations, expectations, not me." I leant closer. "Then what about you? Not your father, not Peter, not anyone else. What do you want?" Her eyes lingered on the screen, the moment I had captured in pixels and memory. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, her expression shifted. "I want to feel like this, to be myself, to choose my own life." I knew the risks of what I was about to say, but I had to. "Then don't marry him. When the vows come, speak the truth. You deserve to choose your path." A knock on the door shattered the silence. Her father, announcing it was time. Victoria glanced at me one last time. Something in her eyes had changed. Resolve. Strength. Freedom.
For the first time in her life, Victoria was no longer following a path laid out for her. She was walking her own. The garden was a storm of whispered gasps and shifting stances. Guests stared, frozen between shock and disbelief. Charles Reed, Victoria's father, pushed his way toward the altar, his face purple with rage. "Victoria, this is outrageous! Stop this immediately!" But she didn't flinch. Her eyes, bright and clear, were locked on Logan, who had stepped forward from the groomsmen. His expression was a mix of concern, admiration, and a quiet, unwavering love. "Victoria," he said, his voice steady but soft, "are you okay?" She took a deep breath, clutching her bouquet. "I'm better than okay. I'm free." The words hung in the air, like a declaration of war and of victory all at once. The crowd murmured, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Peter stood at the altar, shocked, hurt, but with a trace of relief in his eyes. He had understood the truth before anyone else could admit it. Charles Reed's voice thundered over the crowd. "This is scandalous! You will ruin us, your family, our reputation!" Victoria's voice rang out, calm and resolute, but carrying the weight of defiance. "I understand this is not what anyone expected, Father, but I have spent my entire life being the perfect daughter, following the perfect plan, preparing for the perfect marriage. But none of it is perfect if it's not mine to choose. I will not pretend anymore. I will not marry Peter because it's convenient. I will marry because I love." The crowd was silent, the gasps subsiding into stunned awe. Some whispered in admiration, others in disbelief, but no one could deny the courage in her voice. Logan closed the distance between them, kneeling slightly as if to meet her at eye level. "Victoria, will you let me walk with you, not to a wedding planned by someone else, but to a life we choose together?" Tears glimmered in her eyes. "Are you sure? Your family, my family, the consequences? Nothing else matters if you're happy," he said simply. For the first time that day, Victoria laughed, a real laugh, unrestrained, the same genuine expression I had captured earlier. She took his hand, and the crowd collectively held their breath. They walked together toward the back of the garden, leaving the chaos of the wedding behind. Meanwhile, the guests were in a flurry. Some were outraged, some inspired.
The Reed family, however, was in full meltdown mode. Charles was shouting, Mrs. Reed had fainted and was being attended to, and the Russell family tried desperately to maintain composure. Photographers snapped furiously. Journalists would later call it the wedding that shocked high society. But through it all, Victoria and Logan walked hand in hand, moving toward a new life they could finally call their own. That evening, I sat alone in the Reed estate, reviewing the day's photos. Hundreds of images, each telling a piece of the story. But the one that stood out, the one that changed everything, was Victoria laughing freely, leaning into Logan's shoulder, completely unguarded. It was a moment of truth, and it had given her the courage to choose herself over obligation. I couldn't help but reflect on my role. As a photographer, I had a duty to capture the day. But more importantly, I had helped someone see what they truly wanted, and that, I realized, was far more meaningful than any perfect shot of gowns or floral arrangements. Weeks later, the aftermath played out in the society pages. Charles Reed publicly disowned Victoria, though I later heard through mutual friends that he softened over time, realizing her happiness outweighed social expectations. The Reed-Russell business merger collapsed, but both families weathered the storm. Peter, for his part, found someone who shared his values and interests, a match made for convenience but grounded in genuine connection. And Victoria, she thrived. She and Logan created a life free from societal constraints, filled with laughter, adventure, and love they had chosen themselves. A year after the fateful wedding, I received a call that would bring the story full circle. "Ross, it's Victoria," she said, her voice warm and familiar. "Logan and I are getting married. We want you to photograph it." I smiled. "I'd be honored. Will it be anything like the first one?" "No," she laughed. "It will be small, intimate, our way. Maybe 50 guests, no pressure, no pretense. Just love." That day, in Logan's backyard, I captured something more profound than any society wedding could offer. Victoria wore a simple white dress she had chosen herself. Logan wore a suit he already owned. There were no grand floral arches, no $100 linens, no string quartets playing perfectly rehearsed music. There was just joy, authenticity, and freedom. I photographed Victoria mid-laugh, her head thrown back, eyes sparkling. Logan's gaze was one of wonder, of deep, unwavering love. It was the same laughter from that fleeting photograph I had taken the year before, the one that changed everything. In that moment, I understood the true power of photography, not to document perfection, not to capture society's expectations, but to reveal truth, to help someone see themselves, to freeze the moments when courage and love intersect in ways that change lives forever. Victoria and Logan walked hand in hand into a future they had chosen, leaving behind the constraints of expectation, the pressures of wealth and status. And every anniversary, they send me a simple photo of themselves together, laughing, choosing each other again. It's a reminder that sometimes the most important photograph isn't the one you expect you to take. It's the one that captures freedom, courage, and authentic love. As I close this chapter, I can't help but wonder how many people go through life performing a role assigned to them, and how many are brave enough to choose their own story. Victoria and Logan were lucky. They found their path before it was too late. And as a photographer, I was honored to witness it, to capture it, to remember that the most beautiful moments in life are often the ones we choose for ourselves.